2 days ago by a resident, and in it, the top line said, budget drops, but taxes still go up. And it's an article by Cheryl, I hope I pronounced it right, H-E-H-L, Hell, she's a staff writer for this newspaper. And in it gave the county budget. And I'm just going to read some highlighted things. Since 2010, county taxes have increased every year by at least $11 million. This year was $15 million. They were talking about the budget chairman, Christopher Hudak. He did bring up, however, if the freeholders discuss slashing projects like the ice rink for Oak Ridge Park in Clark that will cost between $5 and $25 million, or the escalating cost of Galloping Hills Golf Facility in Union. They're still planning to do these things, and I don't know if that's what government, I know it's not what government's designed to do, especially when you lose money from it. Although the county set the average increase for taxpayers at $95, or 4.97% increase over last year, this does not accurately represent individual towns. No, it doesn't. Berkeley Heights taxpayers will see an increase in county taxes of $1.1 million, or $201 for the average home in 2013. Okay, that 2.01 is $1,110,361 and represents a 7.64% increase for our township. Having said that, we have talked about, let me read the one because good, that's important.
What's the increase for the township, John?
Berkeley Heights. This municipality has talked of seceding from the county, but so far no steps have been taken in this direction. In fact, it may not even be possible, according to county officials who maintain state law doesn't permit this move. That was the part that I think that was most important, because we have talked about it, and I think it's now time for us to start having some open public meetings on this and taking some action on it. I think most people know my position on it, and my position on it is very simple. I don't think Union County knows what government means and what government is supposed to do. That's Joe Bruno's opinion, although I think it's shared by the majority, a lot of people, and we'll find out hopefully in November if it is or it isn't. But I do believe when you're sinking money into projects like golf courses and ice rinks and things like Runnels Hospital, that is right now Runnels Hospital it loses $20 million, between $17 and $20 million a year, and it's a drain on Union County. If they sold it, it would become a rateable. So you take something that's a drain, sell it to a private individual, and now it's a rateable for the county and for Berkeley Heights. Same thing with a golf course. If you sell it to somebody who's supposed to be in the golf business, it becomes, instead of being a drain, it's now a rateable. Same thing with an ice rink, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of things we can spend time talking about now, about the cars that some of the key executives have. And I don't think anybody should have a car to drive to work. I never did, and you folks didn't give me one when I became mayor. Wish you did, but you didn't. It's only 12, 13, 15 miles to the county. So it's not like we're asking them to drive to Milwaukee. I think they could drive themselves to work in their own car. But even at that, if they were driving Priuses, that would be one thing. But Tahoe LXs is not a cheap car. It's a $52,000 car with all the bells and whistles and the flashing lights and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that the key people in government should all have one of those, and they do. Okay, so it's county car, county gas, and you're paying the bill for every dime of it. I think, and I'll leave this up to the pleasure of the council, but it would be my direction either to have a special meeting set up for residents to come out and voice their opinions and ask their questions, or we could take an hour at these meetings for the next couple of meetings to discuss it here, and the people coming on Tuesday nights to do it. By August, at the latest, we have to have the resolution on the ballot by August 6th. So I'd rather do it before the summer, while it's still fresh in everybody's mind, and see what the pleasure of the council and the township is. I rate this as important, if not more important. I rate it more important than the election we had yesterday, and I hope the town people will come out and support it, because it is their money. And every year since 2010, an average of $11 million a year. Do the math, if it's 10 more years, it'll be $110 million more than it is now. And we may have more golf courses and more ice rinks and more hospitals and more people having cars and more people having lifetime medical benefits. I mean, it's just crazy. We're not going to change their mind, you know. I mean, it's who they are. They run their government their way, and it's just not the way I think government should be run. So with that, I'll give up the floor to somebody else.
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Mayor. Just to put it in perspective, in the last 3 years, the county taxes on Berkeley Heights residents rose 26% over a 3-year period. In the same 3-year period, Elizabeth taxes only went up, county taxes only went up 4%, and Plainfield went down 1%. In this same 3-year period, the county manager was caught driving while intoxicated in a taxpayer-funded SUV. In the same time period, they gave a former elected freeholder a full-time position, and they have a county political boss who makes $160,000 a year for a stay-at-home job. I mean, it's no wonder they have to pay $100,000 a year for a full-time county spokesperson just to spin the stuff.
Forgot about him. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, those of you who are regular attendees at these meetings know my position on this. I've been rather forceful. What I found interesting, Tom, the party rep, and I'll use the word rep rather forgivingly, who has that job in the county, she apparently has seen fit to resign. What I found interesting is she got 5 weeks vacation but worked at home, so how do you know when she's on vacation? Which always troubled me, and the problem is, if this administration, through the DCA, through Mr. Leff, who I believe took the county to task, and rightly so, had they not brought it up, it would be, this is life as normal, all right? The article that Joe, and I think Joe sent this to me this afternoon just to get me upset. So,
Share the pain.
I began to read this, and if you read it, you get a sense of why we're in the position we're in. Now, I look around and I see a lot of familiar faces who've been here during the budget process, and we all know what that process is. We know how difficult that gets. And I just want to throw some quotes at you, all right? For example, and Joe mentioned, and has mentioned repeatedly at other occasions, the fact we're running golf courses and ice rinks and all of those things. The following comment was made. Added that a line-by-line review was completed with a goal of cutting the bottom line, avoiding layoffs, and service cutbacks. How did they do that? Well, they did all the above by raising taxes. All right, so I guess they avoided layoffs, and I guess they avoided service cutbacks. But what's their obligation? We sit here, and we go through line by line every year, and we agonize over it. All right, and what do we end up with? We end up with a budget that fits what the governor of this state has mandated we do. Well, for whatever reason, the counties are, I don't have to worry about that, okay? But that's the mindset. They sit there and say, well, we don't want to fire anybody. Nobody wants to see anybody lose a job, but let's talk about how it's being managed. Maybe if you've got 30 people, maybe you only need 20. And we've all made our comments about our personal feelings that that government is not an employment agency. I don't think the county sees it that way. I think the county sees it as an employment agency, quite candidly. So if they avoided layoffs and they're not cutting back services, well, how else do you do it but raise taxes? So that's what they did. So they can say to all of those individuals who are relying upon them, nobody lost their job, and we're giving all of you people the same services. But we're going to raise taxes, and who's going to pay those taxes? We already know who pays the taxes. We pay them, Summit pays them, Westfield pays them, New Providence pays them, Mountainside pays them. And who gets the benefit of those taxes? Well, take a guess. All right? You got Plainfield, Linden, Roselle, Elizabeth, etc. And it's consistent. So as Joe has said, we're not going to change that. So that's why we're trying to do what we're doing. The individual who spoke also was quoted as follows: "The bulk of the blame for the county's fiscal increases were placed on the reduction of state and federal reimbursements." We have a reduction in state and federal reimbursements, all right? As well as increases in mandated costs. We have increases in mandated costs. Not projects and studies the county undertook that are costing taxpayers millions. So let me get this straight, okay? They have the same problems we have. We have to fix those problems or do the best we can, okay? We operate with a police force that perhaps needs 1 or 2 more officers. That's just the way it is. You know, we've told people, manage better. And quite candidly, it's difficult. But we've got individuals committed to doing that. And until the mindset at the county starts with that and says, you know what, we're going to manage better and we're not going to tax people anymore. Until that happens, and I'm not so sure that's going to happen, then we're not going to get any changes. So, Mr. Mayor, I think that I agree with your suggestion that this should be the subject of at least a special meeting or, you know, something.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that, spit out it. Many people feel that the solution is to initiate a dialogue with the county in the hopes that there'll be some type of a miraculous regime change down there, and they will, their priorities will change, their methods will change, and their policies will change. I think that's a deluded view. And I think that we have to be proactive, we cannot be passive, and we have to be very methodical in effecting this positive change on behalf of the community here. And so it would be my recommendation to include this as part of the normal agenda each 2 weeks. And that really forces the issue, it forces the dialogue, and it really allows us to examine each of the issues. Because I think really to consider migrating from one county to another there are a lot of technical issues which really have to be identified, addressed, and affected. And I think, therefore, we have to study it. We need to have input from the residents, other people who have expertise in the area, and really come up with an action plan which is executable. In large degree, I think the county says they're going to put all kinds of statements out there that it's illegal, it's immoral, it's impossible, the world is flat, and they'll say all these types of things because they feel that we as a town are inert, mentally, physically, socially, and then eventually we'll run out of energy and sort of kowtow to this affected political system down there. And I think that what we have to, in order for us to be proactive and effective at this thing, we have to put it as part of our business routine, discuss those issues. So come July, come August, we actually know what the issues are, we know what our position is on those issues, and we actually know what we have to get this job done.
Potentially like a committee or a working group or something maybe to tackle some of this so that issues can be worked on in this way.
And we were fortunate enough to have an administrator, which hopefully will start with the town in June. And I think in terms of the project manager, so to speak, I think that will be part of the, I'll have to defer to the mayor in terms of determining the priorities and the workflow. But I think that will be someone who's managing the project.
That's a good priority.
Would be recruited.
Just one parting comment. I think somebody asked, what was the increase to the Berkeley Heights taxpayer for the county taxes this year? It's 8% this year.
Mm-hmm.
It was 13, then it was 4, and this year it's an 8% increase. When you think about it, they talked about how they cut things, right? Oh, we cut everything down. Their increase in their budget this year is almost identical to our entire budget. That's their increase, isn't equal to our whole budget. Something else.
We'll look at it. Well, I think we'll close on unless anybody has anything else. I look at it this way. When somebody tells me that I have to In order to balance a budget, we need more revenue streams, we need higher taxes. You know, in essence, what they're saying is, I'm not gonna cut my budget, I'm not gonna cut my expenses, but I want you to cut yours. So I wanna take more of your money, so you cut your budget, so I can have more to spend. And that's in essence what, every time you have a tax increase, somebody's telling you, cut your disposable income. And in this case, they're saying, cut your disposable income by 8%. So I can have more money to spend. And, you know, anybody who's, you know, we're all homeowners, some of us are business owners. You know, you bring in a certain amount of money, and you have a budget, and you have to spend what you bring in. You know, if you bring in more, you spend more, you know? I wish I had the same budget I had when I was first a department manager years ago, because if I did, I'd have a boatload of money right now. But as my income grew, I spent more, but I couldn't overspend, or else, you know, I'd be in default. When you get to be a county level or you get in government, some way you forget how to deal with money. And I don't know why. You know, so right now we're saying, and there's some, in my mind, some low-hanging fruit here. Get out of the golf course business. It's not what we should, it's not what government means. There's no place in any constitution, any place where it says, you know, we the people want you to manage our golf courses. We the people want you to manage, you know, our ice rinks. We the people want you to manage, you know, the motor fleet. Okay? It doesn't, you know, define what government should be. It should be protect, defend your constituents, you know, the assets that you have that you need to do, work with government, and that's about it. When they start getting into these other things, you say, what in God's name are they thinking about? And as we all said, we're not going to change that mindset. And then the last thing you look at is, what are you getting for all this? This is interesting. I had a conference with mayors last 2 weeks ago. So one of the vendors down there was from e-ticket. You know, they write these tickets and they can record them and tell you where they wrote the tickets. Well, guess what? County of Union is a subscriber to e-tickets. You know, so I said, oh, that's good. I said, how many tickets did they write in the first quarter of the year? They wrote 6,798 tickets. I got this in my mind committed. It's etched right in front of you. 6,798. So I said, well, can you tell me how many they wrote in Berkeley Heights? This is Union County Police. Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. How many do you think they wrote in Berkeley Heights? 72 out of 6,700. 72, and it was probably by the reservation. Okay, speeding by the reservation. And that's what they wrote in Berkeley Heights. And I said, so even on the county level, I mean, do you ever see a county cop in town? You know, don't forget, don't count the county EMS, they only have 2 ambulances. You would die before you see them. All right? Yeah, I mean, county DPW, they do a certain amount, but we have, these streets are ours. I don't know, does the county do their roads for us, or we do their roads?
I do.
All right, that's good, thank God. You know, but I mean, you know, we could easily take that over with a little more resources. Well, for the $1.1 million we're paying more, I could buy a hell of a lot of salt. I know that. So, and I just think it's ludicrous for us to change their mind. You know, we need to get out. And there's a lot, you know, all the naysayers are going to come out and say this can't be done. Well, you know, in 1961, I said this before, John F. Kennedy said we're going to put a man on the moon in 10 years. I'm sure people said, boy, is he dreaming? You know, what part of fantasy land did he come from? You know, if you don't try and you don't do, you're never going to find out. And I think the people up here are committed to trying and doing, and we're going to need people getting behind us. We're going to need the people writing letters to this legislature, and we'll see if we can change it. But if we don't try, don't expect any different results. You know, Einstein's theory of insanity. Right, Tom? Don't do it. Keep on doing things the same way, get the same results. Can't do it the same way anymore. So that's all. Anybody else have anything else to say? So we're going to make a portion of our meeting, every meeting, on this. Clerk, would you make sure it hits the agenda every time? We'll have something to say about it. Maybe we'll invite some county guests and see if they show up. Okay.